The message came at 3 in the morning, station time. Ho was sitting in his small room on Orbital Station Crescent, eating cold noodles and watching the stars through his tiny window. His fixer, a nervous little alien named Pip, had sent him a job offer. The payment number made him put down his chopsticks. "This has to be a mistake," he said out loud. But it was not a mistake. A wealthy alien woman needed a human husband for 6 months. Legal purposes only. No questions asked. The payment would cover his sister's medical treatments for the next 3 years. Ho read the message 5 times. Then he accepted the meeting. The next day, he put on his cleanest clothes and took a transport pod to the upper levels of the station. He had lived on Crescent for 2 years now, but he had never been to the wealthy sections. Everything here was clean and bright. The air smelled like flowers instead of recycled metal. A tall alien guard met him at the entrance to a private residence. The guard looked at Ho with obvious disgust. Humans were not welcome in places like this. Humans were small, weak, and came from a dangerous little planet that most species tried to avoid. "The human for lady," the guard said into his communicator. "Yes, I will bring it." It not him. Ho kept his face calm. He had heard worse. The guard led him through beautiful hallways filled with alien art and strange plants. Finally, they reached a private room with soft lighting and comfortable furniture. The guard left without another word. Ho waited. The door opened and she walked in. Her skin was silver blue, smooth like water under moonlight. Her eyes were large and luminous, shifting between purple and gold as she moved. She was tall and thin, dressed in flowing robes that probably cost more than everything Ho owned. She was beautiful and she was scared. Ho could see it immediately. He had spent 10 years in military contract work. He knew what fear looked like, even when people tried to hide it. This woman was afraid of something, and she was hiding it behind perfect manners. "Please sit," said. Her voice was soft and musical. "Thank you for coming." Ho sat across from her. "Your offer was generous. I wanted to understand it better." Folded her hands in her lap. "I need a husband, a legal bond that will last 6 standard months. After that time we will separate and you will receive full payment." "Why me? Why a human?" Smiled, but it was sad. "Because humans are considered insignificant. No offense intended." "None taken." "I am the heir to House Sorrel. To claim my family's estate I must be bonded. Law is very old and very strict." She paused. "If I bond with someone from a powerful species, other factions will see political meaning. They will interfere. They will make trouble. But a human—" "No one cares about a human," Ho finished. "Yes, you will be invisible. A small curiosity, nothing more." Ho studied her face. There was more to this story. He was certain of it, but the payment was real and needed her treatments. "What do I have to do?" he asked. "Attend social functions with me. Play the role of a devoted husband. Stay in my residence. Be seen." She leaned forward slightly. "You do not need to love me. You do not need to protect me. Just be present." That last part was a lie. Ho could hear it in her voice. She needed protection. She just was not ready to admit it. "I accept," he said. His eyes widened with relief. "Truly." "When do we start?" The bonding ceremony happened 2 days later. It was quick and legal, performed by a station official in a small government office. Wore simple clothes. Ho wore his one good suit. Other aliens in the waiting area watched them with strange expressions. Some looked amused. Some looked disgusted. One elderly female shook her head slowly, as if watching something shameful. A human bonding with a noble. It was almost funny to them. Ho did not care. He signed the documents, accepted the bonding jewelry that placed on his wrist, and became her legal husband. Afterward, they took a private transport to his estate. It was enormous. Ho had expected wealth, but this was beyond anything he had imagined. The main building could hold 100 families. Gardens filled with alien plants surrounded it. Security drones floated silently overhead. "Your room is in the East Wing," said. "You have full access to most areas. Some rooms are private. I ask that you respect that." "Of course." A massive figure stepped out of the shadows. Ho's hand moved toward his hip before he remembered he was not armed. "This is," said. "He is my bodyguard. He has been with my family for many years." He stood nearly 3 meters tall, with gray skin like stone and 4 arms that ended in hands big enough to crush a human skull. His eyes were small and dark, and they looked at Ho with open suspicion. "The human," said. His voice was deep like thunder. "My husband," corrected gently. Made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Husband, yes, of course." Ho met the giant's eyes without flinching. "Nice to meet you too." Something flickered in his expression. Surprise, maybe. Humans usually looked away from. They did not stand and stare like equals. Led Ho to his room. It was larger than his entire apartment on the lower levels. The bed was soft. The window showed a beautiful view of the station's artificial sky. "If you need anything, use the communication panel," said. "Dinner is at 7. You do not have to attend if you are tired." "I'll be there." She nodded and left him alone. Ho sat on the bed and looked around. Everything was perfect, too perfect. This place felt like a beautiful cage. He thought about back on Earth. She was probably sleeping now, dreaming of getting better. She did not know what her brother did for money. She thought he worked in shipping. 6 months, he said to himself. Just 6 months. That night Ho could not sleep. The bed was too soft. The room was too quiet. He was used to the constant hum of the station's lower levels, the sounds of machines and people living too close together. Around midnight, he got up to get water. As he walked through the dark hallway, he heard something strange. Crying. He followed the sound to a balcony overlooking the gardens. Stood there alone, her silver-blue skin pale in the starlight. Tears ran down her face, and she whispered a name over and over. "Sora, Sora, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." Ho stepped back into the shadows. He did not know who Sora was, but he knew grief when he saw it. This was not the simple inheritance Matter had described. He returned to his room silently, but he did not sleep. Instead, he lay awake thinking. This woman was not just claiming an estate. She was running from something, or hiding from someone. The payment was good, but Ho had a feeling he was going to earn every credit of it. 2 weeks passed quickly. Ho learned how to be a proper husband. He learned which fork to use at dinner. He learned how to bow correctly to visiting nobles. He learned to smile politely when aliens called him the human instead of his name. It was boring work, but boring was safe. Boring meant would get her treatments. Played her part perfectly. In public, she held his arm and looked at him with what seemed like affection. She laughed at his jokes even when they were not funny. She introduced him to important guests as my beloved husband without any hesitation. In private, they barely spoke. Spent most of her time in her office, working on business matters. Ho spent his time exploring the estate, exercising in the private gym, and trying to understand the world he had entered. Watched him constantly. The big followed him at a distance, saying nothing, just watching. Ho pretended not to notice. One evening, Ho attended a diplomatic reception with. The ballroom was filled with aliens from dozens of species. Music played softly. Servants offered strange foods on golden plates. Ho stood near the wall, trying to be invisible. A human at a party like this was supposed to disappear. But he watched everything. He noticed the noble who stared at with cold eyes. He noticed the group of aliens in dark clothes who whispered together in a corner. He noticed the servant who walked too smoothly, too carefully, like someone trained in combat. Something was wrong here. Ho could feel it. Later that night, back at the estate, he found in her study. She was reading a message on her screen and her hands were shaking. "Bad news," Ho asked from the doorway. "Quickly close the screen. Nothing important, just business matters." Ho walked into the room and sat across from her. "I was a soldier for 10 years. I know when someone is scared. You can lie to everyone else, but not to me." Was silent for a long moment. Then she sighed. "You are more observant than I expected. That's why I'm still alive." She looked at him with those beautiful, shifting eyes. "What do you know about House Sorrel?" "Your family, rich, powerful, you're the heir." "What else?" Ho shrugged. "That's all you told me." Closed her eyes. 3 years ago, House Sorrel was destroyed. My parents, my brother, my aunts and uncles, my cousins, everyone, killed in a single night. Ho felt his stomach tighten. "What happened?" "The syndicate happened." His voice was bitter. "They are a criminal organization, very powerful. They wanted my family's trade routes, our business contracts, our wealth. My father refused to cooperate with them, so they killed everyone. Everyone except you. I was off-world, studying at an academy on another station. When I came home—" She stopped, unable to continue. Ho waited. "There was nothing left," whispered. "Just bodies and ashes. The authorities investigated for 1 week, then stopped. The syndicate has too much power. No one wanted to challenge them. And now I am the last of House Sorrel. If I claim my inheritance legally, I become protected by noble law. It becomes politically complicated to kill me. The syndicate would have to challenge the entire government. So the marriage is protection." "Yes," looked at him directly. "I chose a human because humans are invisible. No one sees you as a threat. No one thinks a human could actually protect anyone. You are just a legal requirement, a piece of paper with a heartbeat." Ho should have been angry. She had lied to him. She had put him in danger without telling him the truth. But he looked at her face, at the fear and grief she carried, and he understood. She was alone. She was scared. She had done what she needed to survive. "Why didn't you tell me from the beginning?" he asked. "Would you have taken the job?" Ho thought about it honestly. "Probably yes, I needed the money. But now you are angry." "Now I am informed." He leaned forward. "I don't like surprises. In my old work, surprises got people killed. If I'm going to help you, I need to know everything." Looked confused. "Help me. The contract only requires you to be present. You don't have to. I signed a document that says I'm your husband. In my culture, that means something. Maybe not love, but loyalty." Ho stood up. "From now on, no more secrets. Tell me everything about the syndicate. Tell me who Sora was." His face went pale. "You heard me say that name. The first night, you were crying on the balcony." For a moment, Ho thought she would refuse. Then her shoulders dropped and she spoke. "Sara was my little sister. She was supposed to come with me to the academy, but she got sick the day before we left. She stayed home." His voice broke. "She was 12 years old." Ho said nothing. Some grief was too deep for words. Outside the door had been listening. The big looked at the human with new eyes. Most species would have left after learning the truth. They would have demanded more money or broken the contract entirely. But this human just asked for more information so he could help. Strange creature. The next morning, told Ho everything. She showed him files on the syndicate and their leader, commander. She explained which nobles were friendly and which were hostile. She pointed out the staff members she trusted and the ones she suspected. Ho listened carefully, memorizing names and faces. "What about the servant at the party last night?" he asked. "The one who moved like a fighter." Frowned. "I don't know who you mean." Tall, gray uniform, walked on the balls of his feet. Ho demonstrated the movement. "Someone trained him for combat." "I'll ask to investigate." That evening, reported back. The servant Ho had noticed was new, hired 3 days ago. His background documents were perfect, too perfect. Forged papers, said. Good forgeries, but forgeries. Syndicate? Ho asked. Probably. Went pale. They have someone inside the estate. Ho thought for a moment. Not just someone, there might be more. They wouldn't send one agent alone. Too risky. Nodded slowly. The human thinks like a warrior. The human was a warrior, Ho said, a long time ago. They spent the next 2 days quietly investigating the staff. They could not raise alarm. If the infiltrators knew they were discovered, they would either attack immediately or disappear and return later. Ho identified 5 suspicious individuals. All were new hires. All had backgrounds that were slightly too clean. 5 agents said, "That's an assassination team." "When will they strike?" asked. Ho looked at the calendar. A large dinner party was scheduled for the end of the week. Important guests, maximum chaos. "The dinner," he said, "that's when they'll move." Cracked his massive knuckles. "Then we will be ready." Looked between the two of them. The giant alien warrior and the small human male. An unlikely team. "Can we really stop them?" she asked. Ho met her eyes. "You hired me to be your fake husband, but I'm going to be your real protection." He smiled, and for the first time there was something dangerous in that smile. The syndicate thinks they're hunting you. They have no idea they're walking into a trap. The night of the dinner arrived. 50 guests filled the main hall of the estate. Noble families from across the station had come to see the heir of House Sorrel and her strange human husband. The air smelled of expensive food and alien perfumes. Music played softly from hidden speakers. Ho wore a formal suit that had bought for him. It fit perfectly. He stood beside her, smiling and nodding at guests, playing the role of the foolish human who had married above his station. Inside, every muscle in his body was ready for violence. He had spent 3 days preparing. He knew where every exit was. He knew which walls would stop a weapon blast and which would not. He had hidden knives in 2 locations around the hall. He had memorized the faces of the 5 infiltrators. Stood near the back of the room watching. They had worked out signals. 1 tap on the ear meant ready. 2 taps meant enemy moving. A closed fist meant attack now. The dinner began. Guests sat at long tables covered with beautiful food. Ho sat next to at the head table, eating slowly, watching everything. The infiltrators were spread around the room. 1 was serving drinks. 1 was guarding a side door. 2 were pretending to be guests from minor houses. The 5th was in the kitchen. They were good, calm, and professional. They blended in perfectly. But Ho had spent years hunting people just like them, and being hunted by them. The meal continued. Guests talked and laughed, made polite conversation with an elder. Ho said nothing, acting like a silent decoration. Then he saw it. The infiltrator serving drinks touched his ear. A signal. The others responded with small movements, adjusting positions, getting ready. Ho tapped his ear once, tapped back. The attack would come during dessert, Ho guessed. Maximum confusion. Guests would be relaxed and distracted. He was right. When the dessert course arrived, the infiltrator by the door pulled out a small device and pressed a button. The lights flickered once, then died. Emergency lighting came on, dim and red. Guests screamed. In the chaos, the infiltrators moved. But Ho moved faster. He grabbed and pulled her down behind the table. "Stay here, don't move." Then he ran toward the nearest infiltrator. The alien was fast and trained. He had a blade in his hand, moving toward a group of panicked guests to create more chaos. He did not see Ho until the human was already on him. Ho hit him in the throat, then twisted the blade out of his hand and used it to open his stomach. The infiltrator fell without making a sound. 1 down. The second infiltrator saw what happened and raised a weapon. Ho threw the blade. It spun through the air and hit the alien in the eye. He dropped. 2 down. Across the room had grabbed the third infiltrator. The big lifted the struggling alien with two hands and broke him across his knee like a stick. The sound was terrible. 3 down. Ho sprinted toward the fourth infiltrator, who was trying to reach under the cover of the screaming crowd. This one was ready for him. They fought hand to hand, trading blows that would have killed a normal man. But Ho was not a normal man. He had grown up on Earth, a death world where everything wanted to kill you. He had survived 10 years of military contract work on the galaxy's most dangerous planets. He had been shot, stabbed, poisoned, and left for dead more times than he could count. He did not lose fights. The infiltrator landed a blow to his ribs. Ho felt something crack. He ignored the pain and grabbed the alien's arm, twisted, and dislocated it at the shoulder. While the infiltrator screamed, Ho picked up a heavy serving plate and caved in his skull. 4 down. The fifth infiltrator burst out of the kitchen with a large gun, the kind designed to kill multiple targets quickly. He aimed at the head table where was hiding. Ho was too far away to reach him. For one terrible moment, he thought he was going to fail. Then appeared behind the infiltrator like a gray mountain. 4 massive hands grabbed the alien and his weapon. The gun fired into the ceiling, squeezed. The infiltrator died badly. 5 down. The whole fight had lasted less than 2 minutes. Ho stood in the middle of the hall, breathing hard. His suit was ruined. He was covered in blood, most of it not his own. His ribs burned with each breath. The guests stared at him in shock and silence. They had never seen a human fight before. Not really fight. They knew humans came from a dangerous planet, but they always assumed that meant humans were victims of their environment, not products of it. Now they understood. Humans were not weak creatures who had survived their world by accident. They were predators shaped by millions of years of violence. Emerged from behind the table, her beautiful dress was torn, her face was pale with fear, but she was alive. She walked toward Ho slowly, stepping over bodies. "Are you hurt?" she asked. Ho looked down at himself. Broken rib, maybe 2, nothing serious. Nothing serious. A noble nearby sounded horrified. "You killed 4 armed assassins with your bare hands and a dinner plate." 3, Ho corrected, "got the other 2. Walked over and stood beside Ho. The giant alien looked at the human with something that might have been respect. "You fight well for a small creature. You fight well for a big creature." Something passed between them, an understanding. They had bled together now. That meant something. Station security arrived 20 minutes later. They took statements and removed the bodies. The lead investigator, a thin alien with too many eyes, looked at Ho with amazement. "You did all this?" "My husband is very protective," said smoothly. The word husband sounded different now. Before it had been a legal term, a piece of paper. Now it was something more. After the security forces left and the guests went home, Ho sat in the medical bay while a robot cleaned and bandaged his wounds. Sat beside him. "I'm sorry," she said. "I put you in danger. This was not what you signed up for." "You're right, it wasn't." Ho winced as the robot wrapped his ribs. "But I'm still here." "Why?" It was a good question. Ho thought about it. "When I took this job, I told myself it was just for the money, and that's still true." He looked at its worried face. "But somewhere along the way, it became more than that. You trusted me when you had no reason to. You're trying to survive against people who murdered your whole family. That takes courage. Or desperation. Sometimes they're the same thing." Was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "The infiltrators. One of them survived long enough to speak." "What did he say?" "He said this was just the beginning. He said Commander himself is coming to finish what the Syndicate started 3 years ago." Ho felt cold. He had heard of. The Commander was legendary in criminal circles, a killer who had destroyed entire families and corporations. He did not send agents to do important work. He came himself. When? Ho asked. Soon, maybe days. Ho stood up, ignoring the pain in his ribs. Then we need to get ready. Ready for what? We'll bring an army we have and, she looked at him, and you. Then we'll need more. Ho's mind was already working. Old contacts, old debts, people who owed him favors. I know some people, humans who know how to fight, really fight. Would they help? Ho smiled, but there was no warmth in it. For the right cause, yes. Humans have a weakness. We get attached to things, to people. Once that happens, we don't let go. Stared at him. Are you attached to me? I'm attached to keeping you alive. Right now, that's the same thing. It was not a romantic answer, but it was honest, and found she preferred honesty to poetry. What do we do now? She asked. Ho looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, Commander was coming. Coming to kill the woman Ho had been hired to pretend to love. Now, he said, we prepare for war. News traveled fast on Orbital Station Crescent. Within 2 days, everyone had heard about the dinner party, the assassination attempt, the 5 dead syndicate agents, and the human who had killed most of them with kitchen utensils. Ho became famous overnight. Aliens who had ignored him before now stepped aside when he walked past. Some looked at him with fear, others with curiosity, a few with something like respect. He did not care about any of it. He was too busy preparing. His message had reached Earth 3 days ago. Now the responses were coming back. Old friends, former soldiers, men and women who had served with him in the worst places the galaxy had to offer. 5 of them agreed to come. They did not ask about payment. They did not ask about the odds. They just asked when and where. Humans, Ho thought, we are strange creatures. The first to arrive was one. He was small and thin, with clever hands that could build bombs or pick locks with equal skill. He had been an engineer in the military before becoming a freelance problem solver. You look terrible, one said when he saw Ho's bandaged ribs. You look old, Ho replied. They hugged like brothers. Next came Mi Young. She was tall and quiet, with scars on her arms from fights she never talked about. She was the best sniper Ho had ever known. She had once killed a target from 3 kilometers away in a sandstorm. Nice place, she said, looking around the estate. Shame we're going to ruin it. Then came Dongha and his wife Bin. They were a matched pair, married 15 years, still in love, still deadly. Dongha was a heavy weapons expert. Bin specialized in close combat. Together, they had survived more battles than most soldiers saw in a lifetime. The famous lady, Bin said when she met their host. You're prettier than the news said. Did not know how to respond. She had never met humans like these before. They joked about death. They cleaned their weapons while eating breakfast. They discussed tactics like other people discuss the weather. They were terrifying, and they were here to protect her. The last to arrive was. He was the oldest of the group, gray-haired and calm. He had been Ho's commander once years ago. Now he worked as a security consultant, or that was what he called it. When you called, I almost said no, told Ho. Then you told me about the girl, about her family, about what the syndicate did. His eyes hardened. I hate people who kill children. That night they gathered in the estate's main hall to plan. Sat among them the only non-human in the group. He said nothing, but he listened carefully. We'll bring at least 50 soldiers, Ho said. Maybe more. Professional killers with military weapons. They'll surround the estate and try to breach from multiple directions. Sounds fun, Dongha said. His wife elbowed him. Station security won't help us, Ho continued. The syndicate has paid them off. We're on our own. 7 fighters against 50, Mi Young said. I've had worse odds. When one asked. Never, I was trying to be encouraging. They all laughed, even made a rumbling sound that might have been amusement. Watched them with amazement. They were about to face an army and they were making jokes, Did humans not understand fear? Later she asked Ho this question. We understand fear, he said, but we learned a long time ago that fear doesn't help. When the fight comes, fear is just noise. You push it aside and do what needs to be done. How? Training, experience, stubbornness, he shrugged. Humans are good at ignoring things that don't help us survive. The next day arrived. His ship appeared on the station's sensors in the morning, a modified cruiser with weapons that should have been illegal. Two smaller ships flanked it. Together, they carried enough firepower to take over a small planet. Requested permission to dock. Station authorities granted it immediately. The syndicate's money had already done its work. That afternoon, Ho received an invitation. Commander wished to meet the famous human husband at a neutral location. A diplomatic discussion, very civilized. It's a trap, said. Of course it's a trap, Ho agreed, but refusing would make us look weak. I'll go. Grabbed his arm, he'll kill you. Not in public, not yet. He wants to measure me first, understand what he's dealing with. Ho gently removed her hand. I need to do the same thing. The meeting took place in a station restaurant. Neutral territory, public space. Sat at a large table surrounded by 4 bodyguards. He was massive even for his species, with gray-green skin and scars that told stories of violence. His eyes were small and cold like stones in a dead face. Ho sat across from him, alone. The human said. His voice was like gravel scraping metal. I've heard interesting things about you. I've heard boring things about you. His bodyguards shifted. No one spoke to their commander like that, but just smiled, showing teeth that were sharp and yellow. You killed my agents, 5 trained soldiers with what? A butter knife. Serving plate, actually, for the last one. Impressive for a human, leaned forward. But you know you cannot win. I have 50 soldiers. You have what? Some old veterans and a house guard. Sounds about right. Then why fight? Take the woman's money and leave. This is not your war. Ho considered the offer. It was reasonable, smart, even. He could take payment and disappear. Find another way to pay for her treatments. Let the syndicate finish what they started. But when he opened his mouth, different words came out. I've buried better than you. The restaurant went silent. Even the other customers stopped talking. Smile faded. What did you say? I've killed monsters that make you look like a child playing pretend. I've survived wars you couldn't imagine. I've walked through fire and come out the other side. Ho stood up slowly. You think you scare me? You don't. You're just another bully with too much power and not enough enemies. His face darkened with rage. His bodyguards reached for their weapons. You will die screaming, hissed. Maybe, but I'll take a lot of you with me, and my friends will take more. And when the dust settles, your syndicate will be weaker. Your enemies will smell blood, and everything you've built will start to crumble. Ho walked toward the door. He did not look back. This isn't over, called after him. No, Ho agreed. It's just beginning. That night a message arrived at the estate. Ultimatum. Surrender by station dawn, or he would take the estate by force. Station authorities would not interfere. Ho gathered everyone in the main hall. Tomorrow they come. 50 soldiers, maybe more, heavy weapons, no mercy. His friends nodded. They had expected this. We have one advantage. They think we're prey. They think humans are weak. They've never fought our kind before. Ho looked at each of them. Let's show them what Earth really produces. Raised his glass. For the girl. For the girl, the others echoed. Raised his own glass. He did not fully understand these humans, but he was beginning to respect them. Stood in the doorway, watching. These people barely knew her. They had no obligation to fight for her, but they were preparing to die for her anyway. Why, she asked Ho later when they were alone. Why are they doing this? Ho thought about it. Because they know what it's like to be hunted, because they hate bullies, because, he paused, Because humans bond with things, people, places, ideas. Once we bond, we don't give up. We can't, it's how we're made. And you, what are you bonded to? He looked at her for a long moment. I was hired to be your fake husband, but somewhere along the way that changed. I don't know what we are now, but I know I'm not leaving. Reached out and took his hand. Her skin was cool against his warmth. Then we face tomorrow together, she said. Together. Outside, the stars turned slowly, indifferent to the small drama playing out on the station. In a few hours, the sun would rise, and the war would begin. Dawn came with fire. Forces hit the outer walls at first light. Explosions shook the estate. Dust and debris filled the air. Alarms screamed from every direction. Ho stood in the central command room watching the security screens. 53 enemy soldiers, just as he had predicted. They moved in coordinated groups, approaching from 3 directions: professional, organized, confident. They had no idea what was waiting for them. Eastern approach clear, Mi Young's voice came through the communicator. She was positioned on the roof with her rifle. I count 18 targets. Western approach has 20, Dong Ha reported. He and Bin were guarding that sector together. 15 on the north side, one added. He had spent 2 days planting surprises throughout that area. Ho nodded to himself. Let them get close, wait for my signal. The syndicate soldiers breached the outer walls easily. They expected resistance to start there. Instead, they found empty corridors and silent rooms. Some laughed. The defenders had retreated. This would be easier than expected. They were wrong. The first trap activated when the Eastern team reached the garden. The ground erupted with explosions that one had buried beneath the decorative stones. 7 soldiers died instantly. 3 more fell as Mi Young picked them off from above, her rifle firing with deadly precision. The Western team fared no better. They entered what looked like an empty storage building and found Dong Ha waiting with a heavy rotary gun. He cut them down in rows. The survivors tried to retreat and ran into Bin, who moved through them like a ghost, her blades finding throats and arteries with surgical accuracy. The northern team walked into a maze of traps, explosive tripwires, hidden pits with sharpened stakes, automated turrets that one had to recognize syndicate uniforms. By the time they reached the main building, only 6 of 15 soldiers remained, and was waiting for them. The old soldier fought like a man half his age. His movements were economical, precise, perfected over decades of combat. He did not waste energy on flashy techniques. He simply killed one enemy after another until the northern approach was silent. In 20 minutes, 38 syndicate soldiers were dead. Watched from his command position, his face twisted with rage. His elite forces were being slaughtered by a handful of defenders. This was impossible. Humans were supposed to be weak. All remaining forces, he ordered, central building now. The 15 surviving soldiers gathered and pushed toward the main hall. They moved carefully now, checking for traps, covering each other. They had learned respect the hard way. Ho met them at the entrance. He stood alone in the doorway, a blade in each hand. Behind him was hidden in the safe room with guarding the door. The rest of his team was too far away to help. It was just him against 15 trained killers. The soldiers hesitated. They had heard about this human. They had seen what he could do. Come on then, Ho said, or are you scared of one man? The first soldier attacked. Ho killed him in 3 moves. The second lasted slightly longer. The third died reaching for his weapon. Then they all attacked at once. The fight was brutal. Ho took hits that would have killed a normal person. A blade cut his arm to the bone. A fist broke his nose. A kick cracked more ribs, but he kept fighting. He kept killing. He would not stop. He could not stop. Because behind him was someone he had promised to protect. By the time his team arrived, 8 more soldiers were dead. Ho stood in a pool of alien blood, swaying slightly, covered in wounds. 3 enemies still faced him, but they did not attack. They were too afraid. Mi Young shot one, killed another. The third dropped his weapon and tried to surrender. Bin kicked him once, hard, and he stopped moving. "Boss," Dongha said, looking at Ho with concern. "You look like death." "Feel like it too." Ho spat blood. "Where's?" A crash answered his question. The wall of the main hall exploded inward, and Commander stepped through the smoke. He had come personally, unable to accept that humans had destroyed his forces. He was enormous, 3 meters tall, wearing armor that could stop most weapons. In his hands he carried a massive blade that had killed hundreds. Human growled, "You have caused me great trouble." "You haven't seen trouble yet." The others moved to help, but Ho raised his hand. "No, he's mine." Ho Mi-young started. "This started between us. It ends between us." Laughed, "You can barely stand. Your wounds are bleeding, and you think you can face me." Ho picked up a fallen soldier's blade. It felt heavy in his damaged hands. Only one way to find out. They charged each other. Was stronger, faster. His armor turned aside strikes that should have wounded him. His massive blade cut through the air with killing force. He was a warrior who had never been defeated. But Ho had something did not understand. Humans did not know when to quit. Every blow that should have ended the fight just made Ho angrier. Every wound he took became fuel for his determination. He absorbed punishment that would have killed any other species, and he kept coming. Began to feel something he had not felt in decades, fear. "What are you?" he snarled, slamming Ho into a wall. Ho coughed blood and smiled. "I'm a human. We don't stop, we don't surrender, we don't give up what's ours." He pulled out a hidden blade, the last one he had kept concealed. Short and thin, designed to slip between armor plates. Saw it coming. He raised his arm to block, but his armor had a gap at the neck where flexibility mattered more than protection. Ho drove the blade through that gap and into skull. The commander of the syndicate died, with surprise in his eyes. The great hall fell silent. His body collapsed with a sound like a mountain falling. Ho stood over him for one moment, then his legs gave out. He was unconscious before he hit the ground. Ho woke up 3 weeks later in a medical facility. Machines beeped around him. Tubes carried medicine into his veins. Every part of his body ached. But he was alive. The first face he saw was... She had been sitting beside his bed, holding his hand. Her eyes were red from crying. "You're awake," she whispered. "Still alive," he agreed. His voice was rough. "The others?" "All fine, minor injuries." She laughed through her tears. "They said you took the most damage because you're the most stubborn." "They're not wrong." Squeezed his hand. "The syndicate is broken. With Dead, his organization is falling apart. Their enemies are circling. Within a year they'll be gone." "Good. I've claimed my inheritance. House Sorrel lives again. I have resources now. Protection, allies." She paused. "The contract is complete. You've more than earned your payment." Ho was quiet for a moment. "I guess that means I should leave." "You could." His voice was careful. "Do you want to?" He thought about whose treatments were now guaranteed. He thought about his small room on the lower levels of the station. He thought about the empty life waiting for him there. Then he looked at the woman who had lost everything and refused to break, at the woman he had been hired to pretend to love. "No," he said, "I don't want to leave." "Then don't." The marriage was supposed to be fake, just business. Leaned closer, her silver blue skin shimmering. "It stopped being fake the moment you chose to fight for me. Maybe we should make it official. A real marriage. A real partnership, real trust, real," she hesitated, "real whatever we want it to be." Ho reached up with his bandaged hand and touched her face. "I was hired to be your fake husband. And now." He smiled. It hurt, but he smiled anyway. Now I think I'd like to be your real one. Across the galaxy, the story spread. Aliens told each other about the human who had been hired to pretend and had chosen to become deadly real, about the who had faced impossible odds because he had bonded with someone worth protecting. They said humans were weak, small, insignificant. They were wrong. Humans were the most dangerous thing in the universe, not because of their strength or their technology, but because once they loved something, once they committed to protecting it, they would burn down the stars themselves before they let it go. Ho and returned to the rebuilt estate together. They walked through the gardens where blood had been spilled, where enemies had died. New flowers were already growing over the scars. "What now?" asked. Ho looked at her and smiled. "Now we live together." And they did.